back. Thanks for being back to Growth Factor. I'm Amalia, and you are looking at today Ellen Jamison. Now, how do I know Ellen Jamison and why is she here? Well, we met at a wedding and she looked really familiar. She's friends with a few of my friends, but I knew there was something more to her look. I felt like I know her. And then we were at a supermarket and I saw her again. I say, I know you. We just met somewhere. And then Ellen remembered we were at a wedding together just in the past week or two. So the reason Ellen's here is not only to talk about her incredible career as a model and actor, how she was discovered, but also, you know, my show is all about growing. That's why I call it Growth Factor. There's so many factors of growing and growing together.
Yeah.
And since there's so many ways to grow, I mean, for some people, it's friendship. Some people, it's moving to a new town. For some people, it's medication, exercise, changing the foods we eat. One other thing that I think is so wonderful and helpful is sharing each other's stories, because we look at each other on social media and we say, we look at Ellen, she must have a perfect life. She's so successful and, you know, she's had it easy, right? We all probably think that. Sometimes we think that about one another, but no, we all have a story. So I'd like to start with Ellen. I'm just so just impressed with her. She was, you know, at the market and put together and looking so beautiful. And I want to ask you your story, Ellen. Maybe start with how you were discovered and the work that you do.
Well, I was retired and I was having my nails done, and this woman walked up to me who was a hairdresser, and she said, you know, I have a friend that's an agent, and I think he'd be very interested in you. And so I said, and she said, would you be interested in, do you have any pictures? Can you send him any pictures? And she gave me his card and I sent him pictures of me. I had pictures made up of me a while ago. And within a week, he signed me up, and it's been 8 years now, and I've done over 50 commercials. And I've been very, very blessed, very blessed. And it came at a time in my life where I really needed it, because my husband had a stroke 5 years ago. So I'm the breadwinner. I'm the one who's bringing in the money, and I'm the one that's taking care of him. And so I have a lot on my plate, but I'm very blessed. I feel very blessed.
It sounds like you were blessed with a good time, blessed with fun, connections, travel, but also life comes with hardships. So before we get into your hardships, and the reason I'd like to ask you about your life story and your hardships is we can learn from you. We can learn from each other. And we're all right now listening to you. We all have quite a roller coaster journey. You know, before I came off of Facebook, I'm not on Facebook right now. One of my last quotes was, life is a boxing ring. And we have to stay there most of the time, but we got to make ourselves get out of the ring and have fun, be with friends, travel, because that keeps us sane. But then we got to get back in the boxing ring and get some bruised eyes and get punched and pushed around. And that's life. We chose this life, and none of us chose for it to be easy. So if you can tell me, and I'm going to do some screen sharing of some of your work. So it's very fascinating what you've done and what you've experienced. But can you tell us a bit about your upbringing, some of the good stuff and some of the more painful, and tell us how you got through it?
Well, it is kind of painful because I was an only child, and we lived in Chicago, and we came out here when I was 10. And as an only child, I didn't have any problem meeting people, but I didn't like, it was hard for me to, I wanted to have a sister or brother, but that wasn't in the cards. Anyway, my mother became very sick when we came out here. She got what's called Lewy body dementia. And in those days, this is back in the 50s, they didn't know what that meant. But in a short definition, it's someone who's psychotic and shakes like Parkinson's. And Robin who's the comedian, Robin, who killed himself, Robin.
Oh, Robin Williams. Is that what he had?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people said it as if it was suicide, but they didn't understand this was all he could take from Lewy body dementia. He had enough.
Yeah. In those days, they didn't know what Lewy body dementia was. So they just said she was psychotic and paranoid, and she had trouble keeping her balance, and, basically taking all her aggression out on me because my father was having an affair. And I was all alone with her. There's many times when she would try to kill me. She would attack me and accuse me of taking drugs. And I was only 13 years old, 14 years old. So there came a time in my life when she died, finally died. My life changed. I met my first husband. I'm glossing over that because I don't usually like to dwell on that, but it was very instrumental in my having to take care of myself. And that's how it started. When we came out here, I've been dancing all my life. I was a ballet dancer. I danced in the New York City Ballet Company. When I was a little girl, they came to Chicago and I was in the Nutcracker Suite. And I was so excited because I got money. And I remember going out for my curtain call with the money in my hand. I was so excited. But my childhood, I don't think of my childhood as being anything special, anything miraculous. The only thing my mother and father really let me do was dance. So a lot of times therapeutically, when I wasn't in school, I was taking ballet, tap, toe, modern jazz. I would just go to the dance studio and dance, and for hours. I was only 10, 12, 13, 14 years old. I would walk. It was probably 2 miles, maybe 3, I don't know. But in those days, I wasn't afraid of, a predator. This was back in the 50s. Anyway, I have put that aside in my life because it wasn't very happy. But I'm very blessed now. I keep saying that. I'm very blessed now.
Thank
What
you
else
for
would you like to
sharing.
know?
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So before we pass over that, if you don't mind, or we could pass over that.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you. What did it look like in the household? But I'm looking for the lessons, because there are people right now saying, oh, her too, she's also had hardship. They're looking at you. She's beautiful. She's traveling all over the world. She's a model, an actor. She has it all. But it shaped you. What happened in the household? So I guess I would want to know one of two things. What did it look like in the house? And when you look back, how did it shape you?
Well, it forced me to become very independent because I couldn't depend on my mother because she wasn't there mentally. And my father, he should never have had children. I laugh now, but my father was a really horrible father. He didn't know how to emote. I don't know how I turned out this way. I really don't know. I guess, and at one time in my growing up years, I was maybe almost 70 pounds heavier than I am now. Yeah, I was a thin child, and then I think as my life developed, I just use food as a like a, I don't know, like a sedative or like a tranquilizer to stop the feelings that I was having. But you know, I've always had the problem of being alone, really alone. Um, but as I said, you know, things happen in my life for a reason. Um, they happen because I'm very open to it. I have never been shy, or I've always liked people. I love being around people. I'm very gregarious. I smile at everyone, and I enjoy being with people. And that was part of what this person saw in me when she wanted me to contact this agent. In fact, I've been approached several times since then because they think, wow, she's pretty outgoing and fun and gregarious, and she dances, and she you know, she's I'm not shy. And those are things that I feel maybe God gave me to make it through all the hardships that I went through. And now I have another one now, taking care of my husband who had the stroke 5 years ago. So it doesn't come easy, and you can't look at the outside and say, oh, she has it perfect. It's not true. But I have been blessed with the ability to know what's right and wrong for me. I could have gotten involved in drugs. I was living alone in this gigantic house while my father was having an affair, and all my friends would come over. And, you know, the funny story is that while I was in high school, I started working for Save-Ons as an ice cream scooper, and I gained 25 pounds. Thank you very much. And I used to, when nobody was looking, I dip my head in the freezer and I pick out all the marshmallows out of the rocky road. And, and as soon as I did that, a customer would come up here and my mouth was full of marshmallows. And I didn't care, but I grew right out of my uniform. And
That's funny.
don't even like ice cream anymore.
Mm.
And I'm lactose intolerant anyway. So it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't for sure. But I always had a wonderful circle of friends. And if I don't, I have no problem making them.
Mm.
You know, I just really enjoy people. In fact, when I shot a Nike, no, what was it? Nike? Yeah, Nike commercial. And everybody was the average age of 15, 20. And at that time I was 74, I'm 75 now. And I had the most fun shooting with these kids because I loved their energy. And I think they liked mine. And I think as you get older, some people don't realize that these young kids are trying to relate to you, but you don't let them have any relationship. You don't open up the door. I'm on all kinds of everybody's Instagram, and these are people that I've worked with. Like I'm probably you know, I've got 4,000 followers right now, which is, you know, by superstardom is nothing.
Could you tell us your Instagram? Sorry to interrupt. And I'll put it in the description also.
Oh, okay. Ellen Jamison's official. Ellen Jamison official. It's all one thing. And I follow them. I follow all those young kids. And when maybe I'm getting off the track, but when I did this shoot for
Never heard of it.
Magic, well, I'm sure everybody, or a lot of people, young people especially, know about the program called Euphoria. Oh, it's half magic. Did I say half magic?
I put on lipstick to emulate you because I don't normally wear a bright red lipstick. I did buy
It looks
it.
wonderful on you.
It's fun. You look so good. And I thought, I'll put on some bright red, see what happens.
Love it.
Be like Ellen.
That's nice. I'm very confident. This is the half magic brochure that they made up as a promotion.
Okay, so it's a makeup company?
And all the young people came running up to me because they said, you're an icon. You're an icon. And I didn't know what they were talking about. But all the stars of this, which is this group here, you can see, all had, people following them, but I had over 6,000 followers. This was one of my first print commercials for Bear Paint. Can you see this?
Yeah. You said Bear Paint, so that's a makeup company?
No, Bear, B-E-H-R, Bear Paint.
Oh, it's for a paint company, like painting walls, painting a house?
Yeah, Bear Paint.
Oh, fun.
It was a commercial, and this is a still from it. And I was in every magazine, so I couldn't afford to buy all of them. But this was in Southern Living, but it was in everything, and I just grabbed that as I was getting this. But it was a great commercial because the music was choreographed to my eyes, so that when I'm saying the color was called Rumor. So I'm this old lady listening in the wall, and then I hear this knock. So, I look over here, and the music just went with my eyes. It was very well choreographed. I think my dad was very gregarious. I'm very gregarious. I think that's the only real trait that I can positively say I inherited from him. But he didn't have any emotion. And, if it was my birthday, he would give me a $20 bill and say, buy yourself a present. And of course, my mother, she could barely walk. So I was, obviously I was the only child, but I wasn't spoiled. I had to become very self-sufficient. And I think that is one of the main factors of my success, is that I'm very independent. In fact, I have friends that say to me all the time, why don't you call me when you have a problem? And I say, no, I can't. I wouldn't want to burden anyone. Yeah, I wouldn't want to burden. And that's my shortcoming. I'm not proud of that. But my husband's over there. He's listening to everything.
Hi, husband. What's his name? Do you say Frank? Or
Dick. I call him my honey Dick.
Honey Dick. Hi, honey Dick.
Because I just can't call him my Dick.
Yeah, no, that.
And so all my friends call him Honey Dick.
Oh, so cute. Does that mean his real name is Richard?
Yeah, but nobody calls him Richard.
I think we'll take a little break to show your work. And I think, is there a picture of you and your husband? Who's the man in the black shirt? And I'll show that. Is that your husband?
In what black shirt?
Oh, I'll show you. I'm going to do a screen share right now. And then we're going to get more into your life and more about what shaped you. So here is a picture of someone. Who is this? Yeah. There's Honey
That
Dick.
was
Hi, Honey Dick. What's that a
there's
picture
Honey
for?
Dick. That's I always say I always wanted to marry a man that matched my hair.
And you
And
did it. There he is. Where's he
we've
from?
been
Where was he raised?
he was he was born in Chicago, but he was raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay.
So he has a southern accent and he talks funny. But
I'm gonna
other than that, I mean, he's enlightened my life. Oh, there's my Smashbox.
okay.
That was a commercial. I don't know if that one is a moving video, but
No, it's not. It's just a photo.
it was just a photo. But I did a whole campaign for them, being
Ooh,
legendary.
okay.
I did that during the COVID, uh, you know, pandemic.
Yeah. I'm gonna share some more.
Oh, that was when the local Canal Valley Lifestyle magazine did an article on me, and they were congratulating me for being the new face of Smashbox.
So I do have a question regarding that. You look so good, and you said used to be, I don't know if you said, do you say 75 pounds heavier than you are now at some point?
I was about 65, 70 pounds, 65 pounds heavier than I am now.
So those of
Yeah.
us who, I mean, some people like to be svelte, some people like to be bigger with more booty. For people who would like to be thinner, if they feel that that's better for them, what's your advice? How do we go from 65 pounds down? What do you
Learning,
eat and not eat? What do you do and not do?
I haven't had sugar in 21 years. That was the starter. I had lost several pounds between husbands, but um, that as soon as I stopped eating sugar, and I was a real sugarholic, I have so much energy. I run circles around people that are half my age. And up until COVID, I was working out 3, 4 times a week. And I've always been working out. This is kind of the longest I've gone without finding some time to work out because I got this. I have so much on my plate now taking care of my husband. So, and auditioning and doing the grocery shopping and taking him to the doctor. I hope this doesn't bother anybody.
I think people like it. People love pets. I noticed some of my videos when I've involved pets get the most views. So
Oh
that'll
yeah,
probably be my thumbnail when my ad for you on the show will probably be you with your kitty. Um,
I
so
named
you know,
him.
what were you gonna
I
say?
named him Salsa. I named him
Salsa. Because of dancing?
dancing and food.
Oh, okay. I have a question about it's going to relate to your mother's Lewy body and how you eat. So my show also involves, I try to look for the secret to illness such as cancer. I had just had Dr. Thomas Seyfried. I've had Dr. Ovadia, cardiologist. I've had Dr. Dannenberg, who saved his own life he was in hospice dying of
Yeah, I saw
cancer.
that.
So I want to ask about how your mother ate and then transition to you. Was she eating, back then we used to have, what was this? There were all these weird chemical sweeteners. I can't even remember. It was before Splenda, Sweet and
No,
Low, and Diet
no.
Cokes. Was your mom eating anything strange or what was she eating that you
Well,
recall?
my mother was basically on the. I take after my mother. My mother was basically thin, and I was thin as a child. I was thin. It was just after my first marriage because my husband was taking me out to dinner all the time. But let me backtrack a second. I stopped eating meat in 1971, and I haven't had meat in 52 years. Is it 52 years? Um, and the sugar was the big turning point when I got off sugar, because it was sending me up and making me really hyper and then dropping me. So I depend on healthy foods. I always ate healthy, but sometimes I just had bigger quantities. But how do you want to correlate this?
Well, my question would be, what animal products do you not have and you do have? Do you eat nothing from no fish, dairy, nothing?
I eat fish, I eat chicken. I'm not crazy for turkey, but I'd eat turkey if I had to. Uh, I eat lots of vegetables. I've always eaten a lot of healthy foods. And as I said, I haven't had meat in 22 years. No, is it 22 years? Since 1971. Oh, that's got to be more than that.
Oh yeah, so 50 years. So, you know, what's interesting about my show, I love hearing that because I like being balanced. My show, actually, some of these physicians who save their own lives, people who have bipolar, schizophrenia, um, people I've been following that are about to be on my show, they say that in the 70s, maybe 80s, we said fat's bad, red meat is bad. And now red meat is coming back as a superfood. So some people choose chicken and fish, some people choose red meat. You wouldn't believe it. I know it's unbelievable, but Dr. Dannenberg used red meat and fat, which sounds incredible. And then during COVID, June 2020, the Journal of American College of Cardiologists, this is what changed me. I started eating a lot more red meat, which I was having anxiety. I mean, maybe I could have used fish and chicken. I don't know. Or maybe I could have been vegan. That works for a lot of people too. But the Journal American College of Cardiologists, and you can look this up, June 2020, it's about saturated fats. They say, oop, we were wrong. Butter and red meat is fine. So my summation, looking at you and my friends who are vegan and friends who are carnivore, it almost seems like it doesn't matter what you're eating, maybe as long as you're cutting out the sugar and
Well,
exercising, get a good
I
sleep.
don't eat bad fats, but that's only because I never could tolerate fats. I'm very careful. I eat a lot of olive oil. I cook all my food in olive oil. And I always pair a protein with a carb, which makes it a complete protein. So if I'm having chicken, fish, I always have a vegetable with it. It balances everything out. And I always say you are what you eat. So if you eat crap, you feel like crap. And I, knock on wood, have been very blessed to really enjoy the food I eat. I mean, I eat sushi. I love sushi. But I wasn't brought up to be a healthy eater. You know, my father was very, very heavy, and he lived to eat. My mother loved sweets, and she ate a lot of sweets. I did. My mother went to SLIMDERELLA. I don't know if you heard that.
No. Is that a diet camp? Like Weight Watchers?
Yeah, well, it was the early Weight Watchers. This is back in the 50s. You lay on a machine and it vibrates. And it shakes the fat off of you.
Do you remember what she ate? Because I feel like, based on what I've studied, and everyone has their own science and their own doctors that they follow, it seems as though maybe diet sugars, either sugars or diet sugars or diet Coke type things.
Oh, terrible.
Or being exposed to chemicals. Was your mom either in a chemical business or she was ingesting some sort of foreign chemicals? You know, like we used to call it, I think, like I said, sweet and low. There was even this liquid sugar. It might have been called sweet.
I don't think we had that yet. She just ate lots of pastries.
So she ate a lot of pastries. Okay. And what else?
Well, but we ate a lot of meat. And I mean, my mother was always cooking. But she always called me a rabbit because I really liked vegetables. And I never was a candy snacker. Even though I put on all this weight, I don't know how I did it. Well, I do. My first husband was taking me out to dinner every night. Maybe he didn't like my cooking. And now I feel that I understand.
Sounds like sugar. It might have been sugar, pastries. Also, was she cooking? Today the trend is we say that the industrial age came and went. And so they tried to feed us those oils that were used in the machinery, like the canola oils,
Yeah,
it's canola, grapeseed, margarine, soy, corn. Was she cooking with those oils, which now we
yeah,
believe are toxic?
yes,
The
she was.
process makes them toxic.
This is back in the 50s when everything was coming out in cans and frozen dinners and lots of preservatives and lots of nobody knew what was going on. I mean, I don't know how I survived because but as soon as I started listening to all that, when I listened to discoveries about what food is and how it affects you. And that's the minute I got off of sugar, it took me 2 weeks. I had so much more energy. I felt so good. And I didn't have these highs and lows. And I did drink a lot of Diet Coke, which I don't now.
What about bread?
I don't eat bread. That's for years.
So you don't eat sugar, dairy, and bread.
Right.
So if you have a coffee, give us an example of how you don't eat sugar. So you're at an event, there's coffee, there's pastries. What do you put in do you even drink coffee?
Oh yeah, I usually have, well, today I had a big cup of coffee and I put 2 Splendors in it and that's it. But basically I don't like anything sweet.
What about smoothies? Do you ever have a smoothie?
No. First of all, there's so much in there that I don't even know what it is that they're putting in a smoothie. That now they're saying that yogurt is not good for you. And all these dairy products, and I can't eat them anyway. So maybe on some far-reaching way, I've been doing some things for myself that I didn't know was that good, because I stopped eating dairy maybe 25 years ago, 30 years ago, and stopped eating bread probably that as much, maybe back in the 80s. I stopped eating bread, stopped eating sugar in 2020, no, 2001, I'm sorry, 2001. I just instinctively, something told me this isn't making me feel good. And I needed to be on my best energy. And when I found myself not feeling good from all the sugar going up and down, and my husband's diabetic, so that was another incentive, because after our honeymoon, I put him in the hospital for pancreatitis. I think he and I both overdid it. And
alcohol or food?
Food. I mean, I'm not a big drinker. I mean, I like my wine, but it's a very dry wine.
What is your typical breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and how much alcohol do you drink? The only reason I'm asking that is I think in my life, I've noticed in the last 20 years, some people say, I work out all the time, I eat right, and I just can't lose weight. And they have a bunch of weight on them that's hurting their back, their knees, their hips. And I realize when I'm with them, they're drinking, like they say, like a fish. And I don't say anything to them, but I want to say, gosh, you say you're doing so well, but you're having so much alcohol. And I feel like every sip, every drink you have is like having a scoop of ice cream or a Snicker bar. People don't realize. So I'd like to ask you about that.
I just have a Pinot Grigio. I may have 1 glass of wine, maybe 2, but I don't eat the yolk. I just eat the egg whites.
And how often do you have alcohol? You said a Pinot Grigio, but how often?
Every day. It's a big bowl of oatmeal with, at least 25 blueberries on it. And for lunch, I usually have some chicken with broccoli. And for dinner, I'll have fish. I'll make it salmon, but I'll make it with a salad or broccoli or something to make it. I have to make a complete balanced meal. I'm probably the thinnest I've been in a long time, but most of it is because of getting off of sugar. Because when I was eating a lot of sugar, I was at least 10, 15 pounds heavier and feeling very sluggish.
I published all these papers. What part of it you don't believe? Oh, I never knew that. Oh, people say, I never saw that paper. Well, you don't read the damn literature. You know, if you read the literature, you'd be saying, oh, and you can't believe how many people say sugar has nothing to do with cancer. Now, sugar doesn't cause cancer. It's not a carcinogen. But if you have cancer and your blood sugar is high, you die faster. The tumor grows faster. It's clear. Hundreds of papers published. And then you go to an oncologist and sugar has nothing to do with cancer. What, are you kidding me? These guys don't read the scientific literature. So I don't know what to say. I mean, what can you say? I'm on here talking on your show. I'm telling you and whoever's listening, right? This is the way it is. They don't believe me. Then read my papers and see what you think, right? If you say, I don't believe it. Well, hey, listen, there's a lot of people who actually believe stuff that is incomprehensible, and anybody could believe some of these things. But what are you going to say? But anyway, you can always look at my papers and read the information.
And it takes 2 weeks to get it out of your system, but you'll never feel better in your life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to drop weight, it was to make myself feel better. Because I had demands on me. I had to work and I had to take care of myself and I had, responsibilities, and I was single for 20 years between husbands.
And the reason I call it growth factor is I had this anxiety doom. It was probably depression. I could feel it in my diaphragm. And I thought, there's something wrong with me. It cannot be just me. It can't be my life struggles, which I have and we all have. It has to be something. So I did change how I ate, and that really helped. But if you look below, you click on my other videos, you'll see people who had really spiritual experience. Sometimes it's a death, a drowning, a heart attack, and they went to another realm in between being revived because, their heart stopped, their brain stopped, everything stopped.
They had that. Oh my God.
Yes. And one is local, someone I know. It's quite a few of them are people I know. One person, it was meditation. He was meditating for years, and one day he just went to another place. So I want to ask you a little bit along those lines of miracles. So as you were being raised, you had a lot of hardship. And typically when someone has severe hardship like that, your mom acting psychotic, they'll have a little, let's just call it a touch of God or a touch of heaven. And I'll give a quick example. I haven't interviewed this person. I didn't even ask him, but there's a man in my community and his father and mother were in the Holocaust, and the father was hiding in the forest. And one day, I'm going to try not to say too much because it's very sad, but the Nazis were coming by and they had, it's hard to say it, but they basically had a trailer of children. And he was witnessing from the forest what they did to these children. I'm not going to say, but basically he was about to go insane with what he saw because the Nazis left and there was a pit and he had to check on the children. They were all gone. But anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to skip over it. But he heard the voice of God because he was starting to go insane. Imagine seeing this. You can't survive this. It's not something you could survive. But I forgot what this being said, call it God, light, energy, but from the clouds, I don't know what the words were, but as he was telling the story, because I've studied this for so many years due to my anxiety, and I want to know that, this can't be the real world. Come on, there's got to be another world. So that's why I started studying these stories. I knew what was coming when he's telling the story of his father, what his father saw. I said, someone from the heavens reached out to him, and lo and behold, that's what happened. And I wish I could tell you the phrase. I can't remember what it was. It was something like, I'm with you.
Wow.
I don't remember. But anyway,
I
so
believe in all that stuff. I believe in all that stuff.
So did you ever have a dream where a grandparent visited you, or when you're going through this hardship, did you ever have thoughts, deep, dark thoughts? And did any coincidences happen or dreams or anything like that?
Well, in retrospect, because I always talk to God and I ask him to help me, but it may not be that moment. But things that have happened to me because it was just meant to be. It was shared. Um, it was God was involved. I just know it. My life has been that way for a long time. That I could have, with no supervision from a sick mother and a father that was out having affairs, I could have gotten into all kinds of things as a teenager. I had no supervision, but something always told me, don't do it. I always, I never regretted taking something because I shouldn't. I always had the ability to say, no, this isn't good for me. And it's an inner thing that somebody, God, whomever, who's guiding me, because I certainly didn't get it from my father and I certainly didn't get it from my mother. I was, I raised myself. And I never did drugs or anything like that. And I felt like I feel now more than ever, especially since I'm 75, that my body is my temple and that I have to take good care of it because I have to take care of my husband and I have to take care of my cat and I have to take care of me. And that basically sums up the whole story.
I wanted to share, and maybe some of you can put in the comments questions you have for Ellen or miracle coincidence stories, but back in January, a friend's husband passed and I started hanging out with her and supporting her February and March, just keeping her busy because I felt awful. She's all alone in this big house. And so when he passed, I was in his house and I said to him, can you send me a sign? And I don't know when it was less than 2 weeks. He was from Cuba. There was a car right in front of me with the mail in it. It said Cubano 8. And I decided that's the sign. When do you ever see a license plate that says Cuban, Cubano? So that was very interesting. But also once I started thinking like you do, believing that there is something more to this world, I was really upset. I went to the beach and I was stretching my legs out and I said, God, if you're real, send me a sign. Make the water come all the way up to my shoe and touch my shoe. So the water immediately comes right up. Didn't touch my shoe, but let's say a millimeter, centimeter away. So I'm like, okay, maybe. But then within a minute, I'm looking straight, Ellen, straight at the water. And 2 dolphins jump out of the water in front of me like I was at SeaWorld. It was a SeaWorld moment. It wasn't in the distance. It wasn't left. It wasn't right. It was straight in front of my view. 2 dolphins jump out.
Oh,
so you can,
fabulous.
so you all listening or Ellen, you can interpret what you want. I don't know how to interpret it, but I've decided it's like God and me saying, I'm with you. This is the two of us. This is nature. And God is hidden, so I understand that anyone listening right now who's atheist, I understand that. Why would you believe in something invisible? Especially you've probably had a very hard life. You who've listening either with your spouse, your siblings, your parents. So why would you believe in something invisible? Of course, there's only this world. Of course, there's only science. And once you die, there's nothing. That makes the most sense. However, for me, I've sought it out due to the anxiety I used to have and the doom and the horrible feelings. I mean, I felt like if my life ended today, if I'm hit by a car, that's probably a good thing. It was really hard. So I was looking for answers and I found them for myself because again, if you click below or above, either way, you can find all my videos. There's usually part 1 and part 2. You can kind of prove it to yourself. I have friends who have been to the other side and people will make excuses to them. Oh, it was a lack of oxygen. And they'll say, no, how do I see my grandparent who I've never met in another realm? That's not a lack of oxygen. So I've been able to prove it to myself that there is something beyond this world that I don't understand. But I'd like to ask everyone if you could come back to this video in a week or 2 or in 6 months and look for the coincidences, because Albert Einstein, my favorite quote is by Albert Einstein because he's science, but he said coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
That's fabulous.
And I love that because it comes from Einstein. So the scientists can grasp it and the believers can grasp it all into one easy quote. And I see that when I look for it, I could see, why did I bump into Ellen? I just met her at a wedding and I barely met her. I don't even remember if we spoke for sure. I might have said hi, I might not have, but then at Gelson's, by the way, I have to say what Ellen was saying, how she's gregarious. I saw that in Ellen because I happened to be on the phone, which I felt bad for, because if I'm on the phone out in public, I feel bad because I'm missing that eye connection. But I saw Ellen look at me. She connected with me. I saw our souls connect. And then after I got off the phone with my daughter, I went and I found Ellen. Luckily, she was still there shopping. But most people are, they're not really looking around, not saying hello. So sometimes I feel a little strange and people might think I'm strange because I'll say hi. Hey,
I always say hi.
I like to connect. I feel guilty and selfish if I don't. How could I just walk by someone and not connect? So Ellen's one of those people. I saw her looking at me and I knew she was connecting with me, even though I couldn't connect back for that moment.
I didn't want to disturb you, but I was looking at you. I thought I knew you and you looked very pretty. And so I was attracted to that aura. So, and as soon as I left you that day, in the parking lot, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in probably 15 years.
Oh my, I love that.
And we kept hugging each other. It was that happens to me every day. That happens to me. People come up to me and they're so inquisitive, how do you take care of yourself? Or they ask questions. And they love the way I dress. And that's another thing, people, you make first impressions. And those are the only ones you can make. And then you can't, after that, so I can't even go to the store without, putting on some makeup and doing my hair and getting dressed and being presentable. It makes me feel good. And then never fails. People come up to me and they just want to talk to me. It opens up lots of doors. It does, without even saying a word. So I totally understand that.
I think the coincidences come, even though it's not a coincidence, it's divine providence. And as long as you step out your door and connect with people, look them in the eye and say hello, I think every day, if we just all kept a diary or a journal, we would see that. Because when I'm paying attention, I see that everyone I bump into is meant to be, and we're meant to connect and help each other in some way. And one time I was sitting at dinner with 3 high school friends and I said, what do you think the meaning of and purpose of life is? And they each gave their own meaning. And I think what we all agreed on is we're here on this earth to help one another and connect with one another in a large or small way. Maybe to know our neighbors and be there for them, or make friendships, or even just to bump into each other in the market and smile. And I'm sure we've all heard those stories where someone, God forbid, was about to take their own life. And just because someone spoke with them, or they even said, if someone just talks to me, if someone just reaches out to me, I'm not going to do it today. And sometimes that'll happen. And so I do think that's the purpose of life. What do you think the purpose of life is?
Well, without having to study, and it's kind of innate. I enjoy looking at people and seeing their faces, and I'm amazed that people can walk in a room or walk past people and not even acknowledge them, which is so opposite of me. I smile at everybody, and I really like to make somebody feel good if I can. Here, this is an example. I was wanting some sushi and I went to Whole Foods and they didn't have the sushi I wanted. And this woman was, replacing all these things in the refrigerated section there. And I said, do you have this particular? And she said, no, but I can make it for you. And I said, no, it's fine. I'll get something else. And do you know that she hugged me? She hugged me. She said, thank you. I am so tired. I didn't know that, but instinctively, I didn't want to impose on her. And these things come back to surprise me. She actually hugged me and thanked me. She says, I am so tired. And I said, will you go home and enjoy your evening? These are little things that people miss when they're just so self-absorbed. And, I look at faces all the time. And I'm interested in, if, you know, if they smile, I'll smile back, or I smile and they don't smile at me. And I feel sorry for them because they just missed a great opportunity to enjoy a smile. People are, it's, I think the hardest time of my recent life has been with this COVID because it isolated me.
Mhm.
And I was so sad. So
I was
very
too.
sad.
Same.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody was.
I think some people liked it. They're homebodies anyway. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute before we go.
Okay.
What I was going to say was, when I meet people, I feel a connection to them. I could feel almost, let's call it the godly connection. I don't know what to call it. And I feel like I'm gathering almost like cells, like they're a part of me. And so I typically will keep in touch with someone. And once they become a good friend, I'm texting or calling on their birthday, texting or calling for their children's birthdays. And hopefully all you will share Ellen's story, and Ellen, hopefully you'll share it on your social media. And I hope you hit the subscribe button and the little bell to be alerted for more stories, because I just love hearing people's stories and journeys so that we all share and know that we're not alone. We all have hardships and we all can get through it despite how hard it is. And you see that Ellen's smiling. She's a model, an actor, and she's a caretaker for her husband. So she does not have it easy, despite how put together you'll see her always in public. She's got her challenges like we all do. She's a human being. She's actually not a human being. She's a human becoming.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'm so glad I met you at the wedding and saw you at the store.
And we will see each other again. We'll definitely hang out, especially with my mom, because my mom's just like you, very upbeat, very put together.
Oh, I'd love to meet your mom.
We'll do it.
Very, very much so. So, thank you.
Thank you.
For your wonderfulness. And I appreciate this opportunity.
And we appreciate you, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.